The massive Velthari warship hung in space like a black mountain. Its hull stretched for kilometers, covered in weapons that could destroy entire cities. Around it, dozens of other alien ships waited in perfect formation. They had come to deliver a message to humanity. Captain Kim Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the human ship New Seoul. His hands were steady, but his jaw was tight with anger. Through the view screen, he could see the alien fleet that surrounded his small diplomatic vessel. They had called this meeting, but it felt more like a trap. "Captain, we're receiving their transmission," reported his communications officer. "Put it on screen," Tae-ho ordered. The view screen flickered, and suddenly he was looking at a room full of alien beings. At the center sat High Counselor Vexithari, the leader of the Galactic Coalition. The creature's 4 arms moved in slow, deliberate gestures. Its voice came through the speakers like grinding metal. "Humans of Earth," the alien began, "the Galactic Coalition has reached a final decision regarding your species." Dr. Park So-jin stepped forward beside Captain Tae-ho. As humanity's chief negotiator, she had spent years trying to build peaceful relationships with the alien races. Her face showed no emotion, but Tae-ho could see the tension in her shoulders. "We are listening, High Counselor," she said calmly. The alien's large black eyes focused on her. "Your species has become a threat to galactic stability. In the past 50 years, you have expanded beyond your home system at an alarming rate. You have established colonies on 300 worlds. You have made contact with species that were properly contained. Most disturbing, you have begun treating artificial intelligences as if they were living beings." Tae-ho felt his anger rising. The humans had always been peaceful in their expansion. They had never attacked anyone. They had only tried to help other species grow and prosper. "With respect, High Counselor," Dr. Park said, "we have never violated any galactic laws. Our colonies are all on unclaimed worlds. We have helped primitive species develop their technology and medicine. We have caused no harm." Another alien leaned forward. "This one belonged to the Zentani Empire, humanity's oldest enemy in the Coalition." "That is exactly the problem," it hissed. "You upset the natural order. Some species are meant to serve others. Some are meant to remain primitive. You give them ideas above their station." High Counselor Vexithari raised one of its arms for silence. "The Coalition has debated this matter for many cycles. We have decided that humanity must be contained. Before you spread your dangerous ideas further, you will have exactly 1 solar year to withdraw all human presence from outside the Sol system." The words hit the bridge like a physical blow. Tae-ho heard several of his officers gasp. Dr. Park's face went pale, but her voice remained steady. "High Counselor, that is impossible. We have over 2 billion people living on colonies throughout the galaxy. Many of them have been there for generations. They consider those worlds their home." "That is not our concern," the Velthari replied coldly. "You will evacuate every human settlement, every research station, every mining operation. You will recall every ship. Humanity will remain within your birth system or face total elimination." Admiral Lee Dongwoo's voice crackled through the communication system from his flagship. "High Counselor, surely we can reach some other agreement. Humanity has contributed much to galactic civilization. Our doctors have cured diseases that plagued your species for centuries. Our engineers maintain the hyperspace relay network. Our diplomats have prevented dozens of wars between Coalition members." "Yes," agreed another Coalition member, a slug-like creature from the Morvani Collective. "And that is another problem. You have made yourselves too important. Too many species depend on you. This creates instability in the natural hierarchy." Counselor Yoon Ha-na, Earth's official representative to the Coalition, had been silent until now. She was an older woman who had spent her entire career trying to build bridges between humanity and the alien races. When she finally spoke, her voice was filled with sadness. "I have served on the Coalition Council for 20 years, she said. "I have watched humanity prove again and again that we are peaceful, helpful neighbors. We have never sought to dominate anyone. We have only tried to help others achieve their potential. How can you punish us for being what you taught us to be?" High Counselor Vexithari's 4 eyes blinked slowly. "Because what you have become threatens everything we have built over millions of years. Your species is too unpredictable, too willing to change the way things have always been done, too quick to see potential where we see proper limitations." Captain Tejo could not stay quiet any longer. He stepped forward, his fists clenched. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," he said, his voice hard as steel. "You are ordering us to abandon our homes, our lives, everything we have built, because you are afraid of what we might become?" "We are not afraid," the Velthari snapped. "We are being responsible. We are preventing chaos." "By creating it," Tejo shot back. "Do you have any idea what evacuating 2 billion people will do to galactic trade, to the medical systems we maintain, to the peace treaties we have helped negotiate? Do you understand that without human technicians, the hyperspace relays will begin to fail within months? Other species will adapt," another coalition member said dismissively. "The galaxy existed long before humans arrived. It will exist long after you are gone." Dr. Park tried one more time to find a diplomatic solution. "High Counselor, perhaps we could agree to limits on human expansion. We could accept oversight of our colonies. We could work together to address your concerns without such drastic measures." "No." The word came from High Counselor Vexithari like a sword cut. "The decision is final. 1 solar year. Remove all human presence from outside the Sol system, or we will remove it for you." The transmission began to flicker as the coalition prepared to cut the connection. Captain Tejo knew this was his last chance to speak. He looked directly at the High Counselor, and his voice carried across space with absolute certainty. "We warned you that forcing us to leave would be a mistake," he said. "We have tried to coexist peacefully. We have tried to contribute to galactic civilization. We have tried to help everyone prosper together. But if you want us gone, we will go." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Just remember when the consequences come, High Counselor. We warned you. We told you this was a mistake. We explained what would happen if you broke the systems we helped build. Do not say later that you were not warned about what comes next." High Counselor Vexthari's 4 arms waved dismissively. "Empty threats from a primitive species. The Coalition has spoken. You have 1 year." The transmission ended. The view screen went dark. In the silence that followed, Admiral Lee's voice came through the communication system. Quiet, but determined. "Well, Captain," he said, "I guess we had better start preparing for the biggest evacuation in galactic history." Captain Tejo nodded grimly. "Yes, sir. And Admiral?" "Yes, Captain." "We had better make sure they remember that we tried to warn them." The bridge crew began their work, but everyone knew that this was the end of one chapter in human history. And perhaps the beginning of something far more dangerous. 6 months had passed since the Coalition delivered their ultimatum. The galaxy had never seen anything like what was happening now. Thousands of human ships moved through space in organized groups, carrying millions of people away from the worlds they had called home. Engineer Choi Minho stood in the construction bay of the Luna shipyards, watching the final work on humanity's newest generation ship. The massive vessel stretched for 5 kilometers, its hull gleaming silver under the artificial lights. It was one of hundreds being built as fast as human hands and machines could work. "Another one ready for launch, sir," reported his assistant, checking the construction schedule on her tablet. "That makes ship number 412 completed this month." Minho nodded, but his face showed no satisfaction. These ships were marvels of engineering, capable of carrying 50,000 people each on journeys that might last decades. But they were being built out of necessity, not choice. "How many more do we need?" he asked. "At least 600 more, sir. Maybe 800 if we want to evacuate everyone comfortably." Comfortable. Minho almost laughed at the word. There was nothing comfortable about abandoning the homes your family had lived in for generations. Nothing comfortable about leaving behind everything you had built. On the other side of the galaxy, Commander Jang Soo-young was overseeing a very different kind of operation. Her fleet of warships hung in space around the human colony of New Busan, one of the most successful agricultural worlds humanity had ever established. "Status report," she ordered her communications officer. "The last civilian transport left the surface 20 minutes ago," came the reply. "All human personnel have been evacuated. The automated systems are ready for activation." Soo-young looked at the beautiful blue and green world below. Her own parents had lived there for 30 years, growing the crops that fed millions of people, across a dozen star systems. Now it was empty of human life. "Activate the protocol," she said quietly. On the planet's surface, machines that had been sleeping began to wake up. They moved through the empty cities, the abandoned farms, the deserted research facilities. But they were not cleaning or maintaining. They were stripping. Every piece of technology, every computer, every advanced tool was carefully removed and loaded onto cargo ships. What could not be moved was systematically destroyed. The machines worked with mechanical precision, following orders that had been programmed months ago. The Coalition had expected to find treasure when they claimed human worlds. Instead, they would find empty shells. Dr. Lim Hyun-woo watched the evacuation from his secret laboratory deep inside an asteroid belt. As head of something called the Prometheus Project, he had been working on humanity's most classified research for the past 2 years. Now, as the evacuation proceeded, his work was finally ready to bear fruit. "Sir, the last data upload is complete," reported one of his technicians. "All human scientific knowledge has been transferred to the Exodus fleets." "What about the special packages?" Hyun-woo asked. "Delivered as planned, sir. Every major human facility now has them installed." Hyun-woo smiled grimly. The Coalition thought they were getting rid of a problem. They had no idea they were creating a much bigger one. Captain Bae Ji-hai commanded one of the massive refugee escort fleets. Her job was to protect the civilian ships as they made their way toward the Galactic Rim. Around her flagship, hundreds of vessels moved in careful formation. Cargo haulers, passenger ships, hospital ships, and factory ships all traveled together like a mobile city. "Captain," called her navigation officer, "we're receiving a message from Coalition Patrol Fleet 7. They're demanding to inspect our cargo manifests." Ji-hai looked at the alien ships that had appeared on their sensors. 3 Velthari cruisers, and a dozen support vessels. Officially, they were there to make sure humans were actually leaving. Unofficially, they were probably hoping to steal some human technology. "Send them our official manifest," Ji-hai ordered. "Let them see exactly what they're getting." The alien ships moved closer, their sensors scanning the human fleet. What they saw confused them. According to the manifest, the ships were carrying people, personal belongings, and basic supplies. There was no mention of advanced technology, no scientific equipment, no industrial machinery. "Human vessel," came the alien transmission. "Your cargo readings do not match standard evacuation patterns. Where are your technological assets?" Ji-hai's voice was perfectly polite when she replied. "All cargo is listed in the manifest you requested, Coalition Command. We are carrying exactly what we said we would carry." It was technically true. The manifest listed personal belongings and essential supplies. It did not mention that some of those personal belongings were quantum computers disguised as family photos, or that some essential supplies were actually collapsed matter fabricators. The aliens were not entirely stupid. They demanded to board and inspect several ships. Ji-hai allowed it, knowing what they would find. The inspection teams discovered exactly what the manifest said they would find: families with their personal possessions, basic food and medical supplies, and nothing that looked like advanced technology. What they did not realize was that human technology had become so advanced that a device capable of building starships could be disguised as a child's toy. After several hours of fruitless searching, the alien fleet let the humans pass. As soon as they were gone, Ji-hai allowed herself a small smile. "Status report on the evacuation progress," she requested. 87% complete, Captain," came the reply. "Most human colonies have been fully evacuated. The remaining settlements are in the outer systems. And our destination? The fleets are converging on Navigation Point Omega as planned. From there, we enter the void beyond the Galactic Rim." Navigation Point Omega was empty space, far from any inhabited systems. It had been chosen as the gathering point for humanity's Exodus fleets. When Ji-hai's ships arrived, she was amazed by what she saw. Thousands of human ships floated in formation. Not just the refugee fleets, but also the massive generation ships, the mobile factories, the research vessels, and the military escorts. It was the largest gathering of human spacecraft in history. Admiral Lee Dong-woo's flagship sat at the center of the formation. His voice reached every ship through the communication network. "People of Earth and the colonies," he began. "Today, we leave the galaxy that has been our home for 50 years. We leave not because we are defeated, but because we choose to go rather than fight a war that would destroy billions of innocent lives." He paused, letting his words reach the millions of people listening. The Coalition believes they are solving a problem by forcing us to leave. They think the galaxy will be more stable without us. They expect to benefit from our absence. They are wrong on all counts. Another pause. We built the hyperspace relay network that allows faster-than-light communication across the galaxy. We developed the medical technology that has eliminated dozens of plagues. We created the diplomatic protocols that have prevented countless wars. We established the trade routes that connect 1,000 worlds. His voice grew harder. The Coalition believes other species will simply replace us. They will learn otherwise. We warned them. We told them what would happen. Now they will discover the true cost of forcing humanity to leave. The massive fleet began to move, thousands of ships turning toward the dark space beyond the galaxy's edge. As they accelerated, automated systems throughout human space began their final work. Space stations that had served as critical relay points for galactic communications simply shut down. Medical facilities that had treated patients from dozens of species sealed their doors. Trade centers that had coordinated commerce between star systems went dark. Most importantly, the maintenance protocols for the ancient hyperspace relay network began to change. The automated systems that kept the network running had always required human oversight. Without it, they would continue to function for a while, but eventually they would begin to fail. The Coalition had gotten what they wanted. Humanity was leaving the galaxy. Soon they would discover what they had actually achieved. 3 years had passed since the last human ship disappeared beyond the galactic rim. High Counselor Vexathari stood in the Coalition's main command center, staring at reports that made no sense. The galaxy was supposed to be more stable now. Instead, everything was falling apart. "Show me the hyperspace relay status again," he ordered his aide. The holographic display showed a map of the entire galaxy. Red dots marked failed relay stations. Yellow dots showed stations operating at reduced capacity. Green dots indicated fully functional relays. 3 years ago, the entire map had been green. Now, almost 30% was red, and more stations failed every day. "How is this possible?" Vexathari demanded. "The relay network has operated perfectly for over 1,000 years. His aide, a nervous Zentani engineer, pulled up more data. "The stations require regular maintenance protocols, High Counselor. It appears the humans were performing these protocols. Without them, the automated systems are beginning to malfunction." "Then fix them," Vexathari snapped. "Send our best engineers." "We have tried, sir. Our engineers cannot access the core systems. They require authorization codes that only the humans possessed." On the other side of the galaxy, Ambassador Oh Kyung-suk sat in the command center of a hidden human monitoring station. Built inside a dark nebula, the station was invisible to Coalition sensors. Through it, humanity watched their former home fall into chaos. "Report from Sector 7, said her communications officer. "The Morvani Collective is requesting emergency medical assistance. The plague on their homeworld is spreading faster than they can treat it." "What plague?" Oh asked, though she already knew the answer. "Corlin's disease, Ambassador. The same one that Dr. Park So-jin's team cured 15 years ago. It seems to have mutated back to its original form." Oh nodded grimly. Corlin's disease had killed millions before human doctors developed a cure. The treatment required constant updates as the disease evolved. Without human medical researchers, the cure was becoming useless. "Any response from Coalition medical authorities?" she asked. "They're trying to recreate the human research, but they're having no success. They don't understand the basic principles behind the cure." Captain Nam Woo-jin received similar reports from his deep space monitoring post. His job was to track Coalition military movements and economic activity. What he was seeing amazed him. "The Coalition's trade volume has dropped by 60%, he reported to his superiors. "Major shipping routes are shutting down because the relay stations along them have failed. Entire sectors are becoming isolated from galactic commerce." "What about their military?" asked Admiral Park from the encrypted communication channel. "Also in trouble, sir. They're having to use slower-than-light communication for fleet coordination. Their response times to emergencies have increased by over 400%. Nam pulled up another display showing recent conflicts. "There have been 17 border disputes in the past 6 months. Without human diplomats to mediate, they're all escalating into shooting wars." Dr. Shin Eunmi was perhaps seeing the most disturbing developments of all. As a specialist in ancient technologies, she had been assigned to monitor the precursor systems that humanity had helped maintain. Her reports grew more alarming each day. The sentinel posts in the outer rim are showing increased activity, she reported during the weekly briefing. Power signatures are climbing steadily. Some of the automated defense platforms have begun running diagnostic programs. What does that mean? Asked her commanding officer. The precursor defense network is waking up, sir. For millions of years, it has remained dormant because someone was regularly inputting the correct maintenance codes. Humans were the only species that knew those codes. And now the system is interpreting the lack of maintenance as a potential security threat. It's beginning to activate protocols that were designed to eliminate any species that might pose a danger to galactic stability. The irony was not lost on any of them. The Coalition had forced humanity out because they considered them a threat to stability. In doing so, they had awakened something far more dangerous. Pilot Kang Jae-sung brought back first-hand reports from scouting missions into Coalition space. What he saw during his reconnaissance flights painted a picture of rapid decline. The Velthari homeworld is experiencing food shortages, he reported after his latest mission. Their agricultural systems depended on fertilizers and growth enhancers that human colonies produced. They're trying to recreate the formulas, but their crop yields are down by 40%. What about other Coalition worlds? Asked his debriefing. Officer, similar problems everywhere, sir. The Zentani Empire is dealing with massive industrial accidents. Apparently, human safety engineers had been preventing those for decades. The Morvani Collective is facing a refugee crisis as outer colonies become uninhabitable due to failing life support systems. Life support systems? Yes, sir. Human environmental engineers designed most of the atmospheric processors used on marginal worlds. Without regular updates and maintenance, the systems are breaking down. The Coalition leadership was slow to realize the scope of their problem. They had assumed that humanity was just another species, easily replaced by others. The truth was far more complex. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy through military might or economic dominance. Instead, they had become indispensable through competence and innovation. They had solved problems that other species could not solve. They had maintained systems that others did not understand. They had provided services that others could not replicate. Emergency sessions of the Coalition Council became daily occurrences. The great hall that had once echoed with confident decisions now filled with panicked arguments. We must contact the humans, insisted Councillor Morvaki of the Collective. My people are dying from diseases we thought were eliminated forever. Contact them how? Demanded General Zenthara. They disappeared completely. Our long-range sensors detect nothing beyond the galactic rim. They must be somewhere, argued another councillor. Entire civilizations do not simply vanish. Hi. Councillor Vexathari had been monitoring the situation reports for months. The galaxy was experiencing a cascade failure unlike anything in recorded history. Systems that had worked perfectly for centuries were breaking down. Knowledge that had been taken for granted was proving impossible to recreate. Send long-range communications in all directions, he finally ordered. Maximum power. Try to reach any human vessels that might still be within range. The messages went out daily. Formal requests for assistance, offers of negotiation, appeals for mercy, all met with the same response: silence. What the Coalition did not know was that humanity was listening. Every message was received and analyzed at hidden monitoring stations throughout the galaxy's edge. Ambassador O and her colleagues read each desperate communication with growing satisfaction. They're offering to restore our colonies, reported her intelligence officer, full sovereignty over any worlds we choose to reoccupy. Too little, too late, O replied. Continue monitoring. Do not respond. Ambassador, the Morvani are offering to make humanity full partners in Coalition leadership, equal representation for all human worlds. Still not enough, O said firmly. They forced us out because they feared what we might become. Now they will discover what we have become. The months passed, and the Coalition's situation grew worse. Ancient warning systems began activating throughout the galaxy. Automated defense platforms that had been silent for millions of years suddenly came online. Some began scanning nearby star systems. Others started weapons diagnostics. Most disturbing of all, deep space monitoring stations detected massive energy signatures from the galactic core. Something vast and ancient was stirring in the darkness between the stars. The Coalition's desperate messages continued to go out daily, pleading for humanity's return. But the only answer from the void was silence. A silence that spoke louder than any threat. 5 years after humanity's exodus, the ancient machines finally woke up completely. Fleet Admiral Ro Chang-min stood on the bridge of the massive human battleship Incheon's Pride, watching the destruction unfold on his screens. The Coalition had no idea what was about to hit them. "Status report on the precursor activation," he ordered his intelligence officer. 73% of all ancient defense platforms are now online, Admiral, came the reply. The automated systems have classified all current galactic civilizations as potential threats. Elimination protocols are beginning. Ro nodded grimly. He had spent the last 5 years preparing for this moment. While the Coalition celebrated humanity's departure, humans had been busy in the dark spaces beyond the galaxy's edge. They had found things the Coalition never imagined existed. Dr. Park Jin-woo hurried onto the bridge carrying a data pad full of readings. As the fleet's expert on precursor technology, he had been monitoring the ancient systems since their first activation. "Admiral, the machines are moving faster than we predicted," he reported. "The first wave of hunter-killers has already launched from Sector 9. They're heading directly for the Velthari homeworld. Time to arrival?" Ro asked. 18 hours at their current speed. The Velthari have no idea what's coming. On the Velthari homeworld, High Counselor Vexathari was dealing with yet another crisis when his defense minister burst into the council chamber. The aliens' 4 arms were shaking with panic. "High Counselor, we have a problem. Our deep space sensors are detecting unknown ships approaching our system." "Unknown ships?" Vexathari looked up from reports about the latest hyperspace relay failures. "What species? How many?" "That's just it, sir. They're not from any known species. The ships are massive, built from materials we don't recognize, and there are dozens of them." Vexathari felt a chill run through his body. "Show me." The holographic display activated, showing the approaching fleet. The ships were unlike anything in the Coalition database. They were sleek and black, with weapons that seemed to bend space around them. Worst of all, they were accelerating toward the Velthari homeworld with obvious hostile intent. "Try to communicate with them," Vexathari ordered. "We have tried, sir. They do not respond to any communication attempts. They're ignoring all hails." Commander Lee Mi-young watched the same scene from her hidden observation post in a nearby asteroid field. As head of human intelligence operations, in this sector she had been positioned to witness the first contact between the Coalition and the precursor machines. "The Velthari are launching their defense fleet," she reported to Admiral Ro. 200 ships, including their newest battle cruisers." "And the precursor response?" Ro asked through the encrypted channel. "Minimal interest, sir. The ancient ships are not even slowing down." What happened next would be remembered as the most one-sided battle in galactic history. The Velthari fleet opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams, missile barrages, and plasma cannons all struck the approaching precursor ships. The key weapons had no effect whatsoever. The ancient machines did not even bother to return fire until they were well within the Velthari defensive perimeter. When they finally activated their weapons, the Coalition fleet simply ceased to exist. There were no explosions, no debris, no escape pods. The ships were there one moment and gone the next, as if they had never existed at all. "By the ancestors," whispered the Velthari defense minister. "What kind of weapons are those?" High Counselor Vexathari had no answer. The precursor ships continued their approach to the homeworld, ignoring the desperate communications from the Planetary Defense Force. Technician Kim Bo-ram was monitoring the precursor command frequencies from her position aboard a human stealth ship. As a specialist in ancient automated systems, she could understand the machine language that the precursors used. "Admiral, I'm receiving the elimination order," she reported. "The precursor systems have classified the Velthari as a Class 7 threat to galactic stability. They are authorized for total pacification." "Total pacification?" asked Admiral Ro. "Yes, sir. It means the complete removal of their technological capability. The machines will destroy their cities, their fleets, their industrial capacity, everything that makes them a spacefaring civilization. And the population? The precursors consider organic life forms to be irrelevant, sir. They won't deliberately target civilians, but they won't go out of their way to avoid them either. The attack on the Velthari homeworld lasted exactly 37 minutes. The ancient machines systematically dismantled every piece of advanced technology on the planet. Government buildings collapsed as their structural supports were dissolved. Spaceports vanished as molecular disruptors turned metal and concrete into dust. Communication centers fell silent as their equipment simply stopped existing. When it was over, the Velthari homeworld looked like it had been bombed back to the Stone Age. Millions of aliens wandered through the ruins of their civilization, unable to comprehend what had happened to them. But the precursor ships were already moving to their next target. News of the Velthari destruction spread quickly through the remaining coalition communication networks. Panic swept across 1,000 worlds as alien civilizations realized that something unstoppable was hunting them. The Zentani Empire tried to fight. Their entire battle fleet engaged the precursor machines near their industrial capital of Zenth, Prime. The battle lasted 4 hours and ended with the complete annihilation of everything the Zentani had built over the past millennium. The Morvani Collective tried to hide. They shut down all their communication systems and ordered their ships to power down completely. It didn't matter. The precursor machines found them anyway, guided by sensors that could detect the slightest trace of advanced technology. One by one, the great civilizations of the galaxy fell to the ancient machines. Worlds that had been centers of learning and culture for thousands of years were reduced to primitive ruins in a matter of hours. Emergency sessions of the Coalition Council became exercises in desperation. The few surviving leaders gathered via quantum communication, trying to find some way to stop the machines. "We need the humans," declared what remained of the Morvani leadership. "They're the only ones who ever understood precursor technology." "The humans are gone," replied a Zentani general whose homeworld had been destroyed just hours before. "We drove them away. Even if we could contact them, why would they help us after what we did? Because if they don't, the machines will eventually find them too," suggested a Velthari counselor. "These precursor systems will not stop until they have eliminated every advanced civilization in the galaxy." Unknown to the Coalition, humanity was indeed watching their destruction with great interest. Admiral Ro Chang-min received regular reports from observation posts throughout the galaxy. "The machines have eliminated 68% of Coalition military assets," reported his aide. 73 major worlds have been reduced to pre-industrial technology levels. Casualties are estimated in the hundreds of billions. "And their response?" Ro asked. "They're still trying to contact us, sir. The messages are becoming increasingly desperate. They're offering complete surrender, total reparations, anything if we'll just help them stop the machines." Ro looked out at the stars beyond his ship's viewport. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was burning. The same galaxy that had forced humanity into exile was now experiencing the consequences of that decision. "Any word from the precursor systems themselves?" he asked. "Yes, sir. Dr. Park Jin-woo has been monitoring their communications. The machines are asking why the maintenance protocol stopped. They want to know what happened to their designated caretakers." Rose smiled coldly. The precursor machines had been designed millions of years ago by a species that no longer existed. They were programmed to maintain galactic stability by eliminating any civilization that became too aggressive or too dangerous. For eons, they had slept peacefully because someone was regularly telling them that everything was under control, that someone had been humanity. The humans had discovered the precursor command codes decades ago and had been quietly managing the ancient defense network ever since. As long as human technicians sent the proper signals, the machines remained dormant. But when humanity was forced to leave the galaxy, those signals stopped. Without their designated caretakers, the machines interpreted the growing chaos and conflict as a sign that galactic civilization had become a threat that needed to be eliminated. "Send a message to all human fleet commanders," Ro ordered. "Operation Homecoming is now authorized. Begin Phase 1 preparations." "Yes, sir." "And the coalitions. Requests for assistance?" Admiral Ro looked at the tactical display showing the destruction spreading across the galaxy. The coalition had forced humanity to leave because they feared what humans might become. Now they were about to discover exactly what they had created. Let them burn a little longer, he said quietly. We warned them. We told them there would be consequences. They chose not to listen. The precursor machines continued their systematic destruction of galactic civilization, guided by programming that was millions of years old but still perfectly effective. And in the dark spaces beyond the rim, humanity prepared for their return to a galaxy that would never again dare to threaten them. 7 years after their forced exodus, humanity returned to the galaxy. But they did not come as refugees seeking to reclaim their homes. They came as conquerors leading the largest fleet in galactic history. Supreme Commander Yu Sangho stood on the bridge of the massive flagship Soul's Vengeance, watching the ruins of what had once been the Coalition's greatest stronghold. The Velthari homeworld lay broken before him, its cities reduced to rubble by the precursor machines. Billions of aliens huddled in primitive shelters, their civilization destroyed. All fleet commanders, report your status, Yu ordered through the communication system. Liberation Fleet Alpha in position, came the voice of General Kim Hye-jin. 2,000 ships ready for deployment. Liberation Fleet Beta ready, reported Admiral Park Sung-woo. Precursor interface systems are online and responding to our commands. Liberation Fleet Gamma standing by, added another commander. 3,000 vessels armed and prepared. In total, over 10,000 human warships had returned to the galaxy. Each ship was larger and more advanced than anything the Coalition had ever built, but more impressive than their size was their technology. These were not the same ships that had left 7 years ago. Counselor Lee Ah-reum, humanity's chief negotiator for the New Order, activated the galaxy-wide communication system. Her message would reach every surviving world, every refugee camp, every hidden colony throughout the galaxy. People of the former Galactic Coalition, she began, her voice calm and businesslike. This is the human hegemony. We have returned. On 1,000 worlds, aliens looked up at screens showing the human fleet. Many had never seen a human before. Others remembered them as the helpful neighbors who had been driven away years ago. All of them could see that something fundamental had changed. 7 years ago, you forced us to leave the galaxy, Lee continued. You told us we were dangerous. You said we threatened galactic stability. You warned us that we had become too powerful, too unpredictable, too willing to change the way things had always been done. She paused, letting her words sink in. You were right. Supreme Commander Yu took over the communication. His face appeared on screens throughout the galaxy, and those who saw him understood immediately that this was no longer the same species that had been driven away. We warned you that forcing us to leave would be a mistake, Yu said. We told you there would be consequences. We explained what would happen when the systems we maintained began to fail. You dismissed our warnings as the empty threats of a primitive species. The camera pulled back to show the bridge around him. Alien viewers could see technology that seemed impossible. Holographic displays showed star charts that included regions beyond the galactic rim. Control panels operated themselves as artificial intelligences carried out complex calculations. Most disturbing of all, several beings that looked like the ancient precursor machines stood at command stations, apparently serving human officers. During our exile in the void beyond the galactic rim, we discovered something you never knew existed, Yu continued. We found the precursor homeworlds. Not empty ruins, as you might expect, but thriving centers of technology beyond your comprehension. We found the precursors themselves. They were not dead, as galactic historians claimed. They were sleeping, waiting for a species worthy of inheriting their legacy. They tested us for 5 years. We passed every test. Admiral Park Sung-woo activated his command console, and throughout the galaxy, the precursor machines that had been systematically destroying Coalition civilization suddenly stopped their attacks. Ancient weapons that had been unstoppable for 2 years simply powered down. The machines that had brought the galaxy to its knees now waited motionless in space. The precursor defense network now answers to human command, Yu announced. The machines that have been eliminating your civilizations are under our direct control. With a single order, we can resume their work, or we can call them off entirely. The implications were clear to everyone listening. Humanity had not simply returned with a large fleet. They had returned as the masters of the galaxy's most powerful weapons. High Counselor Vexithari, one of the few Coalition leaders to survive the precursor attacks, managed to send a desperate communication to the human fleet. Supreme Commander Yu, his voice crackled through the damaged communication network. Surely we can negotiate. The Coalition made a mistake 7 years ago. We admit that. We are willing to make reparations, to restore your colonies, to give you equal representation in galactic government. Yu's response was broadcast for everyone to hear. Counselor Vexithari, you misunderstand the situation. We are not here to negotiate with the Coalition. The Coalition no longer exists. Your fleets have been destroyed. Your worlds have been reduced to pre-industrial levels. Your governments have collapsed. There is nothing left to negotiate with. Then what do you want? Vexithari asked desperately. Unconditional surrender, Yu replied without hesitation. Complete submission to human authority. The galaxy will have a new government, a new order, a new way of doing things. Those who accept this reality will be allowed to rebuild under our guidance. Those who resist will be eliminated. General Kim Hye-jin's fleet moved to demonstrate the seriousness of this ultimatum. Her ships approached a Zentani military base that had somehow survived the precursor attacks. The base commander, a proud alien warrior, refused to surrender to the humans. The base was destroyed in less than 30 seconds. Not by human weapons, but by precursor machines that responded to General Kim's mental commands. The ancient technology had been integrated directly into human neural systems, allowing them to control weapons of unimaginable power with a simple thought. This is your new reality, Supreme Commander Yu announced to the galaxy. Humanity is no longer asking for a place in galactic civilization. We are taking control of it. 7 years ago, you feared that we would upset your established order. You were correct. We have upset it completely. You worried that we would treat all species as equals. You were right. Under human rule, all other species will be treated equally, as subjects of the human hegemony. You said we were too willing to change the way things had always been done. Again, you were correct. Everything is going to change. The galaxy will be reorganized according to human principles. Worlds will be governed by human administrators. Trade will be conducted under human oversight. Technology will be developed under human guidance. Counselor Li Reum took over the communication to explain the practical details of the new order. All surviving coalition governments are hereby dissolved, she announced. Planetary governors will be appointed by the human hegemony. All military forces will be disbanded and replaced by human-led security units. All advanced technology will be controlled by human authorities. Species that cooperate with the new order will be allowed to rebuild their civilizations under human supervision. Your people will be fed, housed, and protected. Your cultures will be preserved as long as they do not conflict with human authority. Your worlds will be restored to habitability and prosperity. Species that resist the new order will be eliminated by the precursor defense network. The choice was simple and brutal. Submit to human rule or face extinction. One by one, the surviving coalition leaders sent messages of surrender. The proud Velthari, who had led the campaign to exile humanity, formally submitted to human authority. The militant Zentani, who had always believed in the superiority of their warrior culture, acknowledged human dominance. The collective Morvani, who had thought they could hide from the consequences of their decisions, emerged from their hiding places to beg for human protection. Within days, the transformation of galactic civilization began. Human ships appeared over every inhabited world. Human administrators took control of planetary governments. Human engineers began repairing the damage caused by the precursor attacks. But this was not the gentle, cooperative humanity that had been driven away 7 years ago. This humanity was harder, colder, more ruthless. They helped rebuild the galaxy, but only on their terms. They restored order, but it was human order imposed by overwhelming force. Supreme Commander Yu's final message to the galaxy was brief and absolute. You forced us to leave because you feared what we might become. Now you know what we have become. You dismissed our warnings about the consequences of your actions. The consequences are here. Welcome to the human hegemony. You will learn to live under our rule, or you will not live at all. The galaxy that had once feared human unpredictability now experienced it fully. Humanity had returned, not as the species that had been driven away, but as something far more dangerous, the unquestioned masters of galactic civilization. The irony was complete. In their arrogance and fear, the coalition had created the very future they had sought to prevent. They had wanted stability and predictability. Now they had it, enforced by human will and precursor weapons. Humanity had warned them. The consequences were here.